Hey fish friends, what's going on? This is my first update video or review on a tank that I set up. I normally put out videos relatively soon after the builds, but most planted tanks don't really start to look amazing until a few months in. It's been a little less than half a year since I set this tank up. It's a 40-gallon breeder or 150 liter tank. I'm super pumped on the way things turned out. The plants have filled in really well, and the fish are all extremely happy. There's a few different types of danios, some zebra danios, some albino zebras, some longfins, and some leopard danios. They're really fun fish. They're always out and about swimming. They like to forage in this Monte Carlo for shrimplets. Then there's some chili or mosquito rasboras. They're really tiny fish and they're a lot more timid than the zebra danios. They tend to spend most of their time swimming around under the floaters. Floaters are actually a really great plant if you do have small timid fish. And you can see that just by these guys' behavior. There's tons of cherry shrimp in here, as well as amano shrimp, which help to keep on top of the algae. Some other algae eaters are autocinclus, which are, in my opinion, one of the best algae eaters. They're up there, probably tied with amano shrimp. And there's also some ramhorn snails, which are pretty good for eating biofilm and preventing algae. Maybe not the best algae eaters, and I'd rank them in the same category as cherry shrimp in terms of algae control. They're also just fun critters to have. I don't worry about them taking over the tank. If you have tons of them, that's probably a sign that you're feeding too much. And last but not least is the bristlenose plecostomus. He tends to hide out in this cave during the day, so unfortunately you will not be seeing him. One of my favorite parts of this tank is the sand bed along the bottom. I like how it butts up against a granite rock, which is not a common stone for aquariums. I found these while hiking in Colorado. Granite's a safe stone to use in terms of water quality. It's not going to raise or lower the pH, and it's got a really cool texture. I just love this stone. I love how it kind of clashes with the river stones and pebbles along the bottom, but at the same time they look very similar and have a natural match as well. Some other things that I really love about this hardscape are the wood. There's so much texture. These branches are a mix between different conifers, most likely spruce and pine, based off of where I collected them, but since they've been dead for a while and baking out in the sun, not really 100% sure what species they are. Over on the left side of the tank is the open meadow area. Monte Carlo is used for the carpet because it's such a fast growing and hardy carpet. It also gets really thick and provides a lot of hiding spots for shrimplets. So even if you have danios like this tank that do chow down on baby shrimp, having this really thick carpet allows for a lot of them to survive. And then leading off from the carpet, there's some pearlweed, which helps to kind of ease the flow and provide a more subtle gradient into the Pogostamen erectus, which to me look like little miniature pine trees that really help blend in so it's not such a stark contrast between the carpet and the forested area. And between the carpet and the forest area, this little canyon runs up into the back. When I first set this tank up, the sand path was perfectly smooth. I had used super glue to harden it into place, and it definitely stuck around for a while, but it slowly deteriorated and plants are overgrowing it, and I've kind of given up on keeping it as a cleared out path. but it is cool that you can see the canyon disappear off into the distance. And then the right side of the tank is the forest area. There's tons of epiphytes in here, which are doing so good. You can look close. Lots of bucephalandras and anubias. The little white speckles or polka dots on the leaves always make me happy, and I assume that's a sign of a healthy plant. They certainly look healthy. The only problem really with the forested side of the tank is that there is a fair bit of hair algae and staghorn algae, and both are usually the result of low CO2 and or low flow. So I've worked with David, who owns this tank, to increase the flow in CO2, and things have gotten a lot better. It's also important to just come in here and physically pull out as much algae as I can. And I come in here and clean every other week, and then David will clean on off weeks when I'm not here. We do 50% water changes, scrub everything down, like I mentioned, removal of algae. I like to siphon out the little sand area. Every few months I need to top off the sand just because I suck out some substrate accidentally. Overall, it's not that hard of a tank to maintain. The trees do pose as a little bit of a problem when it comes to flow and CO2 circulation, just because they're vertical structures that block flow. But it's nothing that can't be worked around if that's the kind of tank that you enjoy. Again, I do 50% water changes once a week. I know that someone's going to leave a comment saying that I'm not doing things properly because I'm doing water changes, but I really am a firm believer in water changes. I own an aquarium cleaning company, so first of all, no water changes, no business. Second of all, look at how happy these fish are with this fresh water flowing into the aquarium. They're all swimming right where the fresh water is flowing into the tank. They clearly enjoy, or at least feel good with this new water filling up the tank. I don't really think that there's any denying it, that water changes are great for your fish. And in most of the tanks where I see unhealthy fish or problems or really gross tanks, it usually boils down to people not doing water changes. Even the plants seem to be happy after a big old water change. And it's pretty instantaneous. You can see all these oxygen bubbles going into the water column because the plants are photosynthesizing like crazy. If you don't inject CO2 into your tank, a lot of municipalities do put CO2 into the tap water, so you do give your plants a little boost that way. Hope you enjoyed this update video. If so, then maybe I'll do some more for some other tanks that I set up. Let me know if you have any questions. Hit that sub and like button if you enjoyed today's video. Until next time, see ya!